Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning, everyone. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good morning. This is the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, May 29th. And our inspirational word for the day, a soft answer puts away wrath as water puts out fire. It's a good one for the day. And we don't have a pet today.
No dog today.
Oh, my. Okay.
So I know everybody came here for that, so I'm sorry if you're disappointed.
And Madam Clerk, we have a couple presentations.
We have a certificate for Melanie Perkins.
I do have one here. Melody, if you want to come up, I'm going to read the certification while you're walking up. It's presented to Melody Perkins, recognizing Melody Perkins, an emergency communications dispatcher for Lorain County's 911, and your outstanding performance on November 25th, 2018. Melody's professionalism made a direct contribution ensuring the safety of our law enforcement officers on a shooting incident in Camden Township. Your actions, skills, and calm demeanor that day demonstrated your compassion and dedication to your career and community. Your professionalism was also recognized by an Ohio Gold Star Award from Ohio chapters of Association and Public Safety Communication Officials, International and National Emergency Number Association. Presented to you by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners, Matt Lundy, Lori Gakowski, and Sharon Sweda. So congratulations. And another thing about, let's give it many of you don't know, but our new 911 center, the reason why we have desks that actually rise up and down so you can stand at your desk, not always sit at your desk, is because Melanie brought that to my attention. So all the dispatchers can thank really Melanie for that.
That's right. Take a picture with him. You're going to take a picture.
You want to take a picture and then you can say, you work for us? Come on. Here's that. Nice job. You want your husband to come too? Want to take a picture? You don't want to? You don't want to? Okay. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Okay. And have a few words.
Thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate it. It's just a part of our job, but there are a lot of things that we do that people don't realize, and you take it home with you. That call stayed with me for a while. You can't take yourself out of it, and that's part of the reason why I love the job, because you never know what you're going to get next, and it keeps it exciting, interesting, and keeps you on your toes. So I appreciate the recognition. It's been 20 years, and
wow.
I still love it.
I was just going to say
day.
20 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, every day. I still
Yeah.
love it, and I'm happy to be there and be able to provide that service. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're fortunate to have you.
Yeah, people see it on TV all the time. They think, oh, that's easy. I can do that job. It's a very challenging job. And I know that we're always looking to recruit good dispatchers. And sometimes people think, well, I'm calm and cool under pressure. And, I can probably type and listen at the same time and talk at the same time. And you just don't realize how organized you have to be. And, you're certainly an example, Melody, of what we'd love to have all new recruits to be as well too. So hopefully you'll share that important experience with the new folks we bring in all the time as they go through the program as well. But thank you for a job well done.
Why don't you point out what our success rate of new hires is?
It's
Not good.
yeah, it's not that good. You know, we are constantly recruiting dispatchers, but by the time they go through the training and realize that it's much more challenging than they see on TV or in the movies, we generally end up probably with a third of them actually making it through the training cycle. And but you know, we're always looking for good folks who want to step forward and serve, but it's a very challenging job. We have the latest technology over there. We're very pleased to say that. We're constantly doing our quality controls, but we've made a big investment thanks to the support of the taxpayers.
I also need to point out, I think, Melanie, this is your second or third award?
Yeah, I think first single that I think there was 2 other group ones.
Wow. There were 2 other group ones, she said.
Yeah, 2 other group ones.
But
right.
this was her on her own getting the award.
Right.
So. Tracy, did you have anything that you wanted to add? You have to come up though if you do.
Mhm.
I know you must be proud of your staff. So they do grueling work sometimes.
I am. I'm very proud of him. And, you know, Melody, I've been here 25 years, so I've worked with Melody her whole career. I'm proud of her and the work that all of our other employees do. It is a very difficult job. I appreciate the Board of Commissioners recognizing that. You always do. You've been supportive for us. The taxpayers have been supportive for us. We absolutely love our new facility. It is state-of-the-art. It assists them in doing their job and doing it well. But, you know, bottom line is they do a wonderful job. You talked about the retention rate and the success rate from training. It's very difficult. And I agree, Commissioner, you said that not everybody can do the job. They come in and train, and they find that maybe they can't multitask or do, you know, 10 things at once. But we're lucky to have the people that we have. We appreciate them, and we do recognize their job. So thank you very much for recognizing
Let me
that.
add to that. You said the
Sure.
retention rate. The
I'm
retention
sorry, not
rate's
retention. Yeah,
fine
correct.
with people that usually get through the
Yes.
training.
The training, I apologize,
It's-
right, the training.
Yeah, I don't want to mislead.
No,
Somebody can interpret
correction.
that incorrectly.
Right, correction, yeah. The
These are
training.
really, really fine jobs. They're demanding jobs. And the time they have to spend on holidays, weekends, night shifts is a 24/7, you know, it's one of those jobs that is not the most desirable with regard to scheduling and families and things like that. But they're very, very good paying jobs, but they take a toll on the people. But the retention rate is fine. It's getting people through the training and getting them through the first year, because we keep only the highest quality skilled people that we can find. So I don't want to say that people are leaving after a long period of time. It's the new folks that discover that they're not made for the job. And we've had people go as long as 6, 7, 8 months and then
Right.
just leave us, and we start all over again. So the last one that just left was what, 6 months? Was that 6 or 7 months?
Correct, yeah, around 6 months.
Now, they just felt that they couldn't continue on.
Takes a
That-
special personality,
It does.
doesn't it? I mean, we've had people that were EMTs that didn't make it, but somebody that just worked at McDonald's or something has made it. You know, so it's
Right, I
just
think-
a personality fit.
Customer service background, you know, even, not necessarily even dispatching experience, but customer service and being able to relate to the public and multitask, of course, is huge. But yes, I want to clarify retention. I was saying retention and training is what I meant. So not necessarily
of
long-time
new
employees.
dispatchers.
New
Yeah.
dispatchers, correct. Right.
So Tracy, I knew it was a tough job because when I got here, they told me the real test is if they come back from lunch the first day.
We've had that happen.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
leadership.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Next, Madam Clerk.
Lauren Burgess, update on Office on Aging.
Hi, Lauren.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We
there.
received some correspondence from you, and your office is doing such great work in the community. We thought it would be good to share with the taxpayers and those watching our board meeting about the important work that you're doing in the community.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first I want to say is dispatchers. They're incredible. They are incredible. So, Melody, I absolutely hats off to you. That's incredible. I actually had an experience where I had an emergency in my immediate family, my mother, and and I had to call 911, and the dispatcher actually walked me through CPR.
Wow.
So, and I had never done it before. And I'll never forget, I don't know that dispatcher's name, but I'll never forget his voice, and I'll never forget him. So my hat's off to anybody that can do that work. It's incredible. You do a very valuable service to our community, and people don't even know who you are. So, but okay, so now I'll talk about the Office on Aging. So I want to thank you guys for inviting me and letting me come and present. I also want to say thank you again. Every time I see you guys, I thank you for the support you guys give us, the in-kind provision of the office space. That is, if we didn't have that, we would have a very hard time operating, and our service, would be drastically down if I had to have those expenses. So I really appreciate that assistance that the county commissioners give us. Last time I came, I did kind of just do an overview of all the services we do. I can talk about that, but I did also want to more of focus this time on what are the biggest needs in Lorain County? What are the needs that I'm really seeing from our older adults? So I'm just going to kind of go into that. I've got a couple of areas. The first one is homemaker, and that is just luck, pure luck. We provide homemaker services to approximately anywhere between 95 and 105 people a month. And that number goes up and down because people in and out of the hospital, or maybe they're in a rehab center, they're ill, things like that happen. But generally, we're right around 100, 105-ish in that area. And we provide 2 hours every other week of housekeeping services. So this is non-personal care. We can't do any sort of personal care with them, but we keep their house clean. And what people have to understand is that is often something very simple that they need just to stay in their home. Maybe they don't need the hands-on personal assistance. Maybe they just need to keep their home clean so they don't fall. And everybody knows you fall once,
Right.
Your chances of falling again drastically increase. Your chances of ending up in a facility drastically increase. And I think most older adults will tell you that's not what they want for their last years. So homemaker is a very important service that we provide. We do have right now 289 people on our waiting list for that program. So, and that waiting list fluctuates a little bit because we're very good about calling every couple months to make sure they're still interested in the service, they still need it, and that they're still either living in the county or living in their own home. So we do have to check that. Transportation is another issue that we have in with older adults, and it's not your transit transportation. That's what I tell people. Older adults need that one-on-one, door-to-door transportation. So transit's not going to really do anything for my older adult. They need someone to come pick them up in their driveway, take them to the doctor. Sometimes our volunteers will actually walk them into the doctor's office. You ever gone to Cleveland Clinic, you can't find the doctor's office? So they'll actually walk them in. They can't go into the doctor with them. That's a whole separate HIPAA issue that I don't want to go into. But they can at least get them to the right place. And then we wait for them. We don't leave and then come back. We wait for them. And then we make sure that we get them back home. Our transportation is very limited. We get funding for about 300 rides a year. We're open 253 days a year, give or take a few, depending on holidays, how they fall. So that's 1.2 rides a day. So that is, we do have a gap there. We try to refer as many people to other services as possible. On average, we're referring 8 to 10 people a week to other services because we're not able to accommodate their need. We have a congregate meal restaurant voucher program. That program, we provide vouchers for the client to go get a nutritious meal up to 12 times a month, those are 3 days a week, and we have contracts with Blue Sky Restaurants, so the one in Amherst, the one in Elyria. They've been our long-time partner, 10 or 11 years, and we haven't given them a raise because we haven't got a raise ourselves, and they still do it, so they are a fantastic partner. But that program, we have 90 people on the waiting list right now. We serve around 600 vouchers a month, give or take. It kind of goes up or down. We have 6,730 vouchers that we are allowed to give out every year, and we still have 90 people waiting for it. That program, I always tell people, it's a dietitian-specific menu. So you can't go and get their bomb breakfast. You can't do that. It has to be the dietitian-specific menu. And it not only gives them an idea, first of all, what a healthy meal looks like, but it also gives them that socialization. They get out. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say to me, Lauren, I got to go get my vouchers, because if I don't get my vouchers, then I can't go eat. So even like in the dead of winter, they're like, I got to go get my voucher. Or if they're sick, they're calling, oh, am I still in the program? It's like, yes, you were sick, it's okay. But, you know, that's a really important program that people don't kind of overlook sometimes, but it is very, very valuable and very important. And like I said, Blue Sky has been fantastic with us. I am looking at possibly getting another source of funding to help that program. It certainly won't take care of the waiting list, but it will help. So I'm working on that right now to see if I can get some help there. Home delivered meals. Lorain County is really goofy when it comes to home delivered meals. We cover Avon Lake, Sheffield Lake with federal funds, Older American Act funds, and then we have Wellington Township, Brighton, Huntington, Penfield, and Pittsfield Township in the southern part of the county that we cover, and that's not federal funds. So in the northeast part of the county, we also get funds from those 4 cities. So those 4 cities fund us to the tune of over $100,000 a year. They chip in. We get federal funds for 73 meals a day. We're serving around 105. So if we didn't have that extra funding from those 4 cities, we'd have a waiting list of 25, 30 people. So that's been very helpful. That program's very healthy, very robust. Volunteers, are the ones that deliver it. The clients, they love it. They love seeing their volunteers every week. Mayor Zilka, he delivers every Thursday. So yes, he delivers every Thursday faithfully. So
Mike Sherman was here.
And Mike Sherman, yep, Mike Sherman, he does all sorts of stuff for us. He delivers our food boxes, home delivered meals, he unloads our truck. You wouldn't believe all the stuff Mike does.
That's Mike.
So
Yeah.
he's
He's
awesome.
the county administrator all the time.
He's awesome. So, and then our southern part of the county, we had a funding gap in the southern part of the county with our southern office. Last summer, I went to all the townships down there and basically said, this is the issue, I need money, and I tried to duplicate what we're doing in the Northeast, where I have those municipalities kick in. Lo and behold, they did it. So those 5 municipalities, townships kick in and help us cover the cost of the meals, and then I have a couple of other funding sources, Community Foundation and LMRE's People Fund also kicks in. So we don't have a waiting list right now in those areas. Now, I will tell you, there's another organization in the county that covers Lorain, Elyria, some other sporadic parts. They have a waiting list of over 450. So we have people in Lorain County that need meals. The people that are on home delivery meals, they probably aren't driving. They're pretty homebound. They have issues with being able to cook, which is why they need the meals, and they're waiting. So we do have an issue with that. Now, are there private pay options? Yes. If they can afford to pay for it, there are options. The family can pay for it, but nevertheless, if they want the hot meal every day, which with that comes that wellness check. So with the mobile meals or the Simply Easy meals, they're delivered once a week. You're not getting that wellness check, but you're still getting the meal, so that's important. But, that is one aspect of the home delivery meal or Meals on Wheels model that does work, is that safety check that people get every day. So, yeah, 450 people, that's a lot of people. And then, in other parts of the county, the North Ridgeville, City North Ridgeville does their own meals. Amherst does their own meals. So, like I said, it's very chopped up how we do meals in Lorain County, and I'm trying to get us kind of all together to talk about how can we do this a little bit better. But with a lack of funding, I don't have a whole lot of.
Now, Neighborhood House also, I call them Neighborhood House, it's not Neighborhood House anymore.
Neighborhood Alliance, yeah.
Right, Neighborhood Alliance. They also do meals, right?
Yes, that's the organization I'm talking about.
You're talking about them, they do them for the cities, or they're doing them for?
Neighborhood Alliance does, they cover like the southern part of the county. They basically cover the areas we don't and the areas that these other municipalities don't. So Lorain and Elyria, they're 2 big areas. And they have over.
And so, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they're funded partially, we do CDBG with them.
Yes, you do.
And so, but that's not enough to support their whole program. So where are they getting funding for the other part of their Meals on Wheels?
They get Older Americans Act funds like we do. So they get I think a pretty large chunk. I mean, I don't know their budget by heart, but I have a pretty good idea. They do get funding from the Older Americans Act. They get funding from CDBG, and I think that they also get some local foundation funding. But that's the organization that has over 450 people on a waiting list.
But we do Title 20 funds with you through Job and Family Services, do we? For some?
Maybe.
Maybe? Okay, but we have in the past, I think?
thought we just started
maybe?
that.
No,
Yeah.
that, we haven't, I don't think our agency has gotten Title 20. I know Neighborhood Alliance does for their shelter.
We beefed somebody up with Title 20 funds. I'm trying to reel back in my head. There's so much
it's us.
garbage crammed up here.
Follow up with Jeff Keane, and what, nothing came of that?
Well, we'll see today. It's going to be on your desk today.
I'm just trying to figure out how to start the conversation about coordinated efforts on, as you suggested, on Meals on Wheels, because we're
Right.
funding partial pieces here and there ourselves.
Right.
And as I suggested to the commissioners just over the last couple of weeks about coordinating a more comprehensive approach
Right.
to how to do that. I know each community cares about their seniors.
Right.
But there's got to be some efficiencies that can be found in a more comprehensive way of delivering those services.
I agree.
It's actually number 14 on our agenda.
Is it for
It's homemaker.
the,
For homemaker, yes.
Homemaker.
the homemaker
Yes, for
services? I
homemaker.
wasn't sure if the Meals on Wheels was part of those homemaker services.
No, it's separate.
It's
It's
just,
separate.
that's different care to seniors, right?
Yes.
That's the one you have a waiting list of 200 and something people on?
289, yeah.
I didn't think it was Meals on Wheels. We may have done something out of Job and Family Services over to a different agency last year. I know we propped up a Meals on Wheels program last year through Title 20. I'll have to find that.
Research it.
But I want to start those conversations, and I'm looking for an entry point. And usually the entry point is where you're providing funding for services to get the dialogue moving. So I'll be talking to you.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'd be more than happy to help
Oh,
facilitate that.
I like working with you guys. So, you know,
Yeah.
but there's so many different programs, and there's got to be a way of squeezing some additional resources by coming together.
I agree with you. I mean, I've met with the other county directors, I've kind of just gone to see the other counties, how they're doing it. Nobody has their meals the way we do. Now, granted, they also don't have the population we do. I'm talking about the outlying county. I'm not talking about Cuyahoga County. We can't compare ourselves to them, but I'm talking about like Lake, Medina, Geauga. They don't have the population we do. But, like size, as far as that goes, but none of them do it this chopped up way.
Yeah,
So
what's
there's gotta
happened-
be a better way.
What's happened with our CDBG funds, we've gotten cut in our allocation over the last several years, as everybody has. It's not just Lorain County, but we can only spend a certain amount of the percentage on those type of services. So as they've squeezed our CDBG, we have less and less that we can allocate. So we always actually allocate the maximum percentage to those type of services.
Right.
And then they've added parts of Lorain County that would normally, they were non-entitlement, but they were direct to the federal government. They took them from direct and they made them local, such as North Ridgeville and Sheffield Lake, and they fell under the county. So that diluted the pool even further.
Yeah, they didn't
than
increase
but
the
they didn't
allocation.
increase the allocation. So then we had to reduce the amount of money that can go into the social services even further. And so there's been less money available for those type of services, and you guys have felt the pinch on that.
Yeah.
And I'm going into definition because a lot of people, they'll view and they don't understand why those funds have not gone as far or increased over the years.
Right.
Sorry.
Nope, you're fine. So that's a little bit about home delivered meals. Yes, there's a gap in the county, and I would love to sit down with everybody and just see if we can figure out, can we do this more efficiently? I mean, that's been a focus of mine since I took over the agency, is efficiencies. There's got to be ways we can do this more efficiently, more sensibly, to make sure we're maximizing our service. Absolutely, I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah, we'd welcome that opportunity. We do have some experience in trying to get people together
Yeah.
and bring people
Bet you
together
do.
in the community.
Well,
So,
I'll be calling you then.
Lauren, what is the breakdown on the meal cost? Do you have numbers on that? How
Well,
you calculate?
Sure. So for us, I can't speak for like
Right,
Neighborhood
right, your
Alliance, 'cause
program.
They do it a little bit differently, but for us,
Right.
In the southern part of the county, we calculated our meals cost $5.40. We purchased the meal. Now, granted, this is a little bit different. We purchased through a local nursing home down there for $3, and then we calculate that our mileage is about
Good.
$2.40 for our volunteers.
Okay.
So that's in the southern part of the county. In the northern part of the county, in the northeast, the meals purchased through the caterer that Western Reserve contracts with is $4.95. Actually, I think it went down. $4.70 something is where
Okay.
is at now. And so and then we get an allocation from Western Reserve of $18,267. Western Reserve pays for the first $18,000 of those meals. Once we exhaust it, which last year we did over 26,000 meals. So we exhausted it. That's when we used those 4 city funds to then directly pay Western Reserve to purchase the rest of the meal. So about $5 a meal.
Okay.
Now, we're fortunate, we use volunteers.
Right.
So we do reimburse mileage for our volunteers, but it's not having
No
to pay a
staffing cost.
We don't have staffing costs for our delivery. We have 2
Excellent.
staff that run the Northeast office and run the kitchen, but that's not built into our meal costs at this time.
It is or
It
isn't?
is not.
Okay.
It is not built into our
So
meal
what
costs.
is there a backlog on your Meals on Wheels right now, a waiting list?
For us, my agency, no,
Okay.
because we have been successful in finding these other options, but also keep in mind we're serving a smaller community. So, so we're lucky. We're okay right now. So. We do the food box program. I don't know if anybody's heard of the big, huge food boxes. They're 40 pounds, and they're not kidding. They're 40 pounds. So we do 160 of those a month. We currently have 9 people on a waiting list for that. We also get food from Second Harvest. We package them up into bags, and we deliver those food.
Is that the one that Sherman was complaining about the carts in
Yes.
the elevator on?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
yes,
all right.
yes. Yeah. So, and then, so then we package bags. So the food box program has an income limit. So we've put all the people that are under the income limit on the food box, and then we have this other program we've been doing for like 20 years, and we put the people over income for that, but under the 200% we put in on that program. And yes, we use volunteers to do that. We can do 86 people a month on the other bag program, and we have 29 people waiting for that program too. And that's just shelf stable. So these are different people. These are not going to be your home delivered meal people, because they've got to be able to cook it. So this is just your shelf stable. Your boxes got your rice and your meat and stuff like that, and then you've got the bags. So
It's an assist program more than,
yeah, it's like basically a delivery of a food pantry. We do have people that come pick it up, but we also deliver. We know that some clients just can't get in, so we do deliver, and that's where we use volunteers such as Mike. So we rely very heavily on our volunteers, I will say. We have well over 200 of them, and if we didn't have volunteers, we couldn't do what we do.
Is that, are you doing it through the RSVP, or do you
Yes.
still run the? it's still
Yes,
the-
we're still operating RSVP, and that program is doing very well. Actually, I did some cleaning up this last year to make it a little more financially friendly to us. I mean, we were losing some money there, but we're not anymore. We kind of cleaned that up a little bit. But yeah, we're using RSVP, and then we have volunteers that aren't RSVP. We have younger volunteers. We have people that just, for whatever reason, they don't want to turn in the timesheets for RSVP. That's fine too. I mean, that would help with my grant, but I understand, So yeah, we use all ages. So we're always looking for volunteers on our new website. We have a special volunteer portal. Like if you want to volunteer, email us. We're looking for all ages. RSVP is 55 and older though. So that's kind of our areas of need. We also do social work support services. We have an aging and disability resource center where we serve 60 and older and then 18 plus with a disability. That was the department I was born out of, so to speak. It's a very important program, and we don't have like a waiting list for social work services. I mean, you need a social worker, we go out and see you kind of thing. We work a lot with APS, work a lot with Job and Family Services on the benefits end. Then we have our kinship program, which is very, very popular. That's where it's grandparents or other relatives raising a minor child. And that program has seen quite an increase because of the opioid crisis. We're seeing more grandparents or aunts, uncles, siblings. We just had a sibling have to take guardianship of their sibling. So we see all sorts of different things. We get funding from Western Reserve to help with custody for 55 and older, and that's the Older Americans Act. We were able to secure funding from the Vincent J. Stark Foundation for the under 55, so we can help them with custody as well. And then we get funding from Judge Walther for guardianship applications to pay for the filing fees. So we try to do as much for these people as we can, because the big expense is the legal. No one can afford the attorney. And then we do have an attorney's firm that's kind of sits on retainer for us that we work with. And they accept we can pay $2,000, they accept it, and they do the work, whether it's more than the $2,000 or not. So
Are you getting anything from Adult Protective Services with regard to that? Is there any?
no, because it's a different type. So the guardianship I'm talking about is guardianship of a minor. So they do the guardianship of
Okay.
an older adult. So there's two different things, but we get the people call us all the time. We want to do your kinship program. Once we get to talking to them, it's like, oh, you want to get guardianship of your mom? Yeah, that's APS. So yeah, it's two different
Okay.
things. So that's kind of what we do. We're real focused on nutrition. real focused on the in-home services, you know, things like the homemaker. The way I look at it, when I look at my older adult, is the two services that are gonna keep people in their homes is the homemaker and the home delivered meals. Without those two services, transportation kinda comes in there too, but I do kind of put homemaker and home delivered meals first. If you can't keep your house clean, if you can't eat, then you're not gonna be able to stay in home. And I think the ARP did a study, I think something like 91% of older adults wanna stay at home. And it saves the government money. You know, they don't have to worry about going to a nursing home, and nursing homes are very expensive and it'll blast through your money like you wouldn't believe, so.
Well, I mean, that's the big push to keep them in the home as long as possible. So they've recently, they've loosened up, you know, the home health nurse visit
Yeah.
under Medicaid, because they finally come to that senses and sensibility with regard to that doing the visiting nurse and home care has become less costly than institutional care, and it's healthier for the person. And that's one of these things under this contract that we're going to talk about later that you provide, right? And of course, there's some things that the health department also provides, initiative they have. Can you tell me a little bit about, you know, you spoke earlier about your transportation issues. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you provide there?
What we provide is door-to-door medical only transportation. We're using volunteers' cars, and it's to doctor's appointments only. So if they need to go to the bank, they can't go through us. We could, like, if they needed to stop at the pharmacy on their way home from the doctor, we can do that. But it's just for medical. Yeah, we're looking at prioritizing that first.
Are you qualifying them under, with Job and Family Services, under TANF, or, I mean, I would think that a lot of them qualify for that, and then they can get to specialized medical transport
Right.
that way.
So what we do is we serve the people that don't get that. So
Okay.
we try to make sure we're filling a gap. So we're funded, our transportation is funded by Older Americans Act. And that's one of the questions we ask is, do you have another way?
So
And
we
if-
do try to pre-qualify them and put
Absolutely.
them through qualification.
Of course, of
And
course.
Medicaid gives free transportation.
Right.
If you're on Medicaid.
You get like X number
You
of
get so
rides
many
a
rides
year,
to the
exactly.
doctor.
Okay.
So yes, if they're like on Medicaid and they can get it through their managed care, or even some Medicare Advantage plans are starting to do it now. And we ask that question. We make sure that people we're transporting do not have another option.
So you're exhausting all.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
a lot of times organizations don't do that. I gotta be
No,
honest with you.
no.
They look for an easier remedy, because it's really hard, I know, getting through all of those possible solutions before you arrive at putting them in a volunteer's car to take them
Right.
somewhere. Okay, great. I just.
And you still, and you say you still have a large backup on that?
Yeah, we turn away about well, I hate turning away, but that is the word, 8 to 10 people a week, because we can't, they call them for a doctor's appointment and we say, I'm sorry, we're booked that day. What my coordinator will try to do, with the limited hours I'm able to pay her to do it with, she'll even call the doctor's office and say, okay, but we can take Mrs. Jones on this date. Do you have an opening then? So we do try to coordinate it a little bit. So, you know, I mean, and like I said, I pay her like 12 hours a week to coordinate this program, so, you know, but
Small group of people doing a whole lot of work in our county,
Right,
you guys, I'll
right.
tell you.
yeah. So, little bit about the county statistics. When I presented to you guys last time, I gave that. I pay attention to Scripps Gerontology. It's Miami University. They do Ohio population research on older adults, and it's fantastic. I would tell you guys, check it out. Right now, they are redoing the county level report, so I only have some real high level stuff. But what I will tell you, and this is interesting, you know, I was looking at it, they're saying by 2020, we'll be at about 25% of our population in Lorain County will be 60 and older. By 2030, it's going to be about 26.3%. When we get to 2040 and 2050, it actually starts to drop off, 60 and older. And I thought, well, what happened to this? Everyone's talking about the silver tsunami. Well, duh, Lauren. I'm going to be 60 in 2050, my generation. So I forget that my generation is a lot smaller. So I kind of had to think about that. I'm like, this is really weird. But this is what's most interesting. They break it down 60, 65, and 85 plus. Our 85 plus population between now and 2050 is going to double. It's going to go from
I plan on being.
2%. Yeah, it's going to go from 2% to 4.2%. That's what they're projecting. Now, does that sound like a lot? No, but that's doubling. What that tells me is that people are living longer. the baby boomers, they're aging in, they're finishing up aging into that 60 plus right now. By 2025, most of our baby boomers are gonna be in that bracket. But what that's telling me is people are gonna live longer. And the hope would be they live longer in the community, so services like what we provide are going to be, even though our 60 plus population kind of starts to level off, the people are still aging and hopefully staying in their community. So that I thought was a very interesting stat that I saw. I thought, so we have to pay attention to that, you know, our older are staying, are living longer and staying in the community longer, so.
No, you're doing a great job,
Thank
and as all of us up here get older, we hope you'll still be running things so you can take care of all of us.
Not planning
us
on
at
going
home.
anywhere. I've got a long time till retirement,
Yeah,
guys, so.
yeah. Well, we were definitely going to do some research and take a look at the different resources that are out there and see if there's some ways to plug in.
Yeah,
But
give me a call.
Okay.
Happy to sit down with you guys.
yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Thank
Keep
you,
up the
Lorain.
great work.
Thank you. Any questions?
No,
All right.
Thanks.
thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
All right, under resolutions, investments,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Appropriations,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Transfers,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Travel,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Bills,
So move.
Second?
discussion, Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
That would be County Administrator Jim Cordez. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. I do have a number of issues I would wish to speak with the board about in executive session, some potential hires at the collection center, possibly some hires in maintenance and with custodial also, 911. Also, I still want to talk about sale and purchase of real estate. Those will be ongoing discussions as we negotiate. Steelworking negotiations at both the auditor and engineer's office. Also, we'll be coming into the window soon. I expect to see a notice probably in the next 30 days from the United Auto Workers and Job and Family Services. So I want to start beginning our conversations that we're going to have, so we're prepared when that comes in for the summer. So that'll be an ongoing topic with regard to executive session, and also one pending legal matter. All of those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussions. So I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session and we discuss those matters that I've detailed. Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of May 15th and 22nd.
So move.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Decision on the 46.240 acres muni-owned land annexation in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 709.14 and 16 to Grafton Village from Eaton and Grafton Townships.
So move.
Second?
Discussion.
I guess at this point, I see members of both parties here. And Counselor, do you have anything you want to state at this point?
I think we would give them an opportunity to speak at this
Sure.
point in time.
Okay. So I see both, I guess, various parties here. Anyone wishing to speak or address the board? The trustee? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
They're getting a call right now down there in Grafton. I talked a little bit last Wednesday about this. I haven't got any copies from the engineer's office. I haven't got to speak with them either. Was everything good? Legal description, no issues? Okay. I also spoke last week about the paperwork and the map I was bringing with the only surviving member of the board from the agreement I spoke of. He also came with me, former trustee. I'd like to pass this out to you if I could.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
I'll get into, I'm not going to get into all of it. I'll get into some key points of this consent decree that I want to speak about, unless there's been some change or they have an appendix from this that I don't have. I will point out what I was referring to last Wednesday. Page 4 under E. In the agreement that the county commissioners signed, the Village of Grafton signed, the Board of Trustees of both townships, Grafton Township and Eaton Township, was signed that the territory was be annexed, shall be reduced by 100 feet around the perimeter. There's a map on your second to last page of your packet. Notice on the court order, it has 1805 acres. On the map, once the buffer zone was placed in, it went down to 1,715 acres. If there was an argument from the other side, I assume it's something about being contiguous now, or they're now the property owners. The intent of this is no matter who the property owner is, whether it's state of Ohio, Grafton Village, or anybody, that the territory, not parcels of land listed here, the whole perimeter in this one annexation, as an agreement, because they wanted the income taxes off the time of those prisons, they agreed to this, that it'd be reduced by 100 foot around the perimeter of that annexation. At the time, they were contiguous 900 and some feet. That's highlighted on your map on the second to last page. It doesn't mean that if there's been more other annexation, that's where they were contiguous then, and that is the part that this is referring to as far as contiguous, not owning the property. Because if you think about it the other way, day one of this agreement, it would have been void, and why would we ever sign that? Because if you follow that black line around your map, they'd be contiguous day one it was annexed. They'd be contiguous to the whole buffer zone or 100 feet. So that small portion is highlighted where there was no buffer zone placed. It did go into both townships, the majority of Eaton Township. I understand they're not annexing the whole buffer zone here. From when I reviewed the description, it looks to be correct on the parcels they own. And I'd have to tell you, when I know what the county commissioner's annexation manual says about shall, but no one down in Columbus was planning on a court order being around a property when they said the commissioner shall. In fact, I don't believe that decision can even be made here because you guys would be in violation of a court order. My understanding, I'm not an attorney, but if I'm in violation of a court order, I would get arrested, perhaps. I guess you could even say it perhaps is a crime to be asking for this and asking other elected officials to be a part of going against this court order. It's just how I see it. That's what I wanted to touch on. Al, did you have something to say?
Good morning. May it please the commissioners. Normally, I would tell a township if
You
city...
need to introduce
I'm Attorney
yourself.
Al Schrader. I represent the Eaton Township Board of Trustees. Normally, I tell my townships that, look, if a city owns the property, that's it. The statute lets them annex. Here's the unique thing about this case, and the only reason we're here. There is a court order signed by Judge Joseph Sirigliano from 1988, and it's a consent judgment order. That means all the parties consented, and they agreed on this buffer zone. And today, without ever going to the court first to get a modification or argue why it ought to be modified, Grafton Village walks in here and decides they're going to ask to annex exactly the same land, at least as to that buffer zone, that the court and they agreed not to annex before. And we checked with the clerk of courts. This order has never been appealed, amended, or otherwise reversed or otherwise changed. It's still a court order. And what's kind of scary is that, granted, it may be a 31-year-old court order, but it is a court order. It's not invalid just because it's 31. I'm 65. I'd be long invalid if you just, after a certain number of years, you're done. But I practiced law for 40 years, and what we're saying is before coming here under 709.14 and 709.16 and asking you to pretty much automatically approve the annexation, they ought to first go to the court and see if the court wants to approve it. I'm not so sure they would. That judgment entry doesn't say they won't annex until they decide otherwise, and certainly the Eaton Township Board of Trustees, which is a party to that, and signed it. And if you look at the signature page of that judgment entry, it's one of the more unique ones I've ever seen. It's got probably a dozen signatures from county commissioners, every one of them that was in office at the time, every one of the Eaton trustees that were in office at the time, every one of the Grafton trustees that were in office at the time, the proper representative from the village of Grafton, and some folks from the state of Ohio.
The judge didn't sign it,
Yes, he did.
not on this page.
Let me give you, here's the problem we had.
I believe the original in that bag I brought last time.
Well, never mind, I got copies, I'll give them to him.
No.
I've actually got 2 copies of the same thing. The difficulty was when the clerk's office, with the computers, especially around the time just before the holiday when I found out about this, we wind up with 2 copies. One's readable without a timestamp and no signatures. The other one did not reproduce well, but you can see the signatures. So
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to
fine.
give you both. I got plenty of these daggone
Well, I
things.
just noticed it.
Yeah.
The judge didn't sign it.
You're right, there was plenty of goofy. How this wasn't, Grafton was about 770 acres at the time, and the board approved an
That's this one.
1,800 acre
Yeah,
annexation. How that wasn't considered
Thank you.
unreasonably large is beyond me, but there's
Thank
plenty of questions about the whole thing.
The first one I'm giving you, hi, how you doing? Good to see you again, Jim. How you doing? And then the second one I'm gonna give you is the one with the signature page. And again, I apologize for giving you 2 copies of the same thing that, sometimes the machines don't help us out too much. And the signature page is important, it's not the last one, because that's an exhibit. It's just after the judgment entry.
Right.
So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time reading the signatures
Right.
to you, you can look
Just
at
the
it
signatures
yourself.
there.
Yeah, it's there.
Excuse me. The point of this
Okay. This one's got his signature on it.
is, I don't think the commissioners have the authority to overrule the court. And so what I'm asking you to do is either deny this or hold it in abeyance until, if the village wants to change it, the village has a right to go ask the court to change it, and we as a party have a right to come in and say, no, you shouldn't, and then the judge that replaced Judge Sirigliano can make a decision. But quite frankly, right now, what they're inviting you to do is ignore a court order, to possibly be in contempt of court, which, while it's not technically a crime, I went in Western Ohio, I had to make an argument and angered a judge, and I thought there's a pretty good chance I'd be in jail for a while, because he didn't want me to submit evidence that I knew damn well I had the right to submit. And I called my office and said, hey, you might want to send some people out here with a little money, because
Bail
there's a
money?
pretty good chance,
Get me
and
home.
they've done that. I know in this county, they put a reporter in jail for a while in contempt of court, so they can do that stuff. I'm not saying I'm gonna ask them to do that here. What I am saying is, it would be wise, I practiced law over 40 years, I don't ever advise anybody to ignore a court order. My advice is, if you don't like it, try to modify it, but don't ignore it. It's not a good idea. I have a pretty good idea what the late Judge Joseph Sirigliano would do if you tried to violate one of his court orders. Thank you. That's all. I think that's all we have at this
Yeah,
point.
just
Let's
your recommendation, there's no way the township would ever agree to anything, even in court, for letting this go. So.
Right.
But we'll decide that there if that's where it goes, so.
No, I think I said the township would oppose it in court. What I'm saying is they have not only the right, but the duty to get this thing changed if they can, before they come here asking you to violate a court order.
Who was Who's providing all the sewer service around that property over there? Are you guys in Lorco?
No, that's the Village of Grafton. Reason $400,000 check was handed to the mayor, Tom Smith, at the time at the ribbon cutting.
So all that sewer service around the prison and all that's all?
Well, there's no sewer theoretically out where they're putting solar panels or anything right now, but they are treating the sewage from the prison.
Actually, part of the court order covers some provision of utilities, I think, to areas that weren't annexed as part of the consent judgment.
Yeah, I was just looking at the consent judgment. It speaks to the county and sewers for the county.
But speaking of county sewers in Lorain, hence why that man there, when it signed this, until the buffer zone was established, so that they are locked in right there. That's the joint Lorain County sewer system over there on South Island Road going west, and we don't.
Well, it's interesting. Just be careful which ones you want to enforce and which ones you don't in that consent decree.
Well, everything else is honored through that.
Just be careful,
Yeah.
because it certainly speaks to the county sewering that whole area around there with the city of Grafton.
It talks about different agreements, but I don't believe anything's ever been, I'm sure the Estates was in question at time.
I'm just,
Eaton Estates, right?
I'm
Yeah.
just,
No one wants to be in violation of court order.
right.
Right.
Okay.
Be interested in having those conversations with you.
Maybe we all should get together.
I know, but
I'd invite them too.
remember, you can't enforce little pieces of something.
Well, I wouldn't even brought this out or brought it up if
Well,
we weren't talking
I'm
about.
kind of glad you did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's,
All right,
Good
are there
point.
any other, if there aren't any other questions, I think we're pretty much abreast of
Jerry?
what we're saying.
Well, Al, yeah, I do, and I don't want to catch you off guard with this, so I'll give you and Gretchen for the village a chance to think this over. Let me first of all say this to the commissioners. The law says that the prosecuting attorney is supposed to represent the Board of Commissioners on these hearings and not the village. But usually with annexation matters, it's just a matter of interpreting and telling you what the statutes and the law are. Al is correct in this regard because we have an outside judgment entry, and that's going to involve some interpretation. And I've spoken with both Al on behalf of the township and Gretchen on behalf of the village, and they, not surprisingly, have different interpretations as to what this agreement means. But that puts me in an odd situation where I expect the board is going to ask me what I think this means, and I have to be perfectly honest with you. I'm really struggling with whether, because all the law says I'm not supposed to represent the township in this matter. I represent both townships, Eaton and Grafton, so I'm really struggling with trying to look at this objectively. So I'm going to ask the commissioners at the end of this to table this for a week, because what I plan to do is seek some counsel from outside counsel who have a completely independent and objective view of this, because I'm going to do one of two things. Either I'm going to favor the township because they're my client, or I'm going to be too hard on them because I don't want to look like I'm favoring them.
So you lose whatever, no, either way.
Yeah, yeah. So I really think I need to get some outside views on this with a more objective perspective. Al, there's one thing, and Gretchen, I'd like you to think about. What I did notice in here, that although the commissioners signed this judgment entry, they weren't named a party. So I guess I'm trying to sit here and say, what authority do the Board of Commissioners now have to interpret what this judgment entry is? I'm not going to ask you for the answer right now, but that's one of the things I'm looking at, is where do the board, obviously this decision is going to involve an interpretation of this entry, but where do they get the authority to interpret what this judgment entry is, since they weren't a party to it? And I guess I'm thinking is, you're right, isn't this something that should go back to the court Shouldn't there be some injunctive action?
And if I might, that's going to be my answer. The fact is, the court and the parties and the folks that signed it all consented. So I think it's the court that has to tell you what it means, other than I think we can read it and kind of figure out what it means. But I think if you have to, the court itself has to make that decision. What I suspect happened, although the parties were only, it was an annexation back then. It was the prison property is what they were trying to get. So the parties were only the townships and the state, who was the petitioner, and the village was going to accept the annexation. So those were the technical parties. But I know enough about Judge Sigrigliano that he realized that this involved issues like what Jim mentioned. It involved sewer and water and annexation and land and services and all those other things. So he had a boatload of people sign this. I made a reference to that a little earlier, so that he could get everybody on board. It was kind of like what Commissioner Lundy said a little earlier about trying to get people together. Sometimes an issue isn't the commissioner's problem, but you solve it by getting people together whose interest it is. And I think that's what Judge Sigrigliano did here. But the point of it is, it ought to be a court that interprets it, I think. I don't think there was anything wrong with the commissioners signing it. I think that's got rid of a lawsuit and solved a problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody else that wasn't a problem who wasn't a party who signed it. So anyway, that's my quick answer. I said I was going to sit down. I'm sorry, I don't know who Gretchen is normally. Hi, Gretchen. I apologize. I assume you have copies of these, but normally attorneys give other attorneys copies of what they're using, so I wanted to do that.
Okay. Thank you,
Jim,
gentlemen.
and just, yeah, the sewers, I understand there's talk in there, you know, it is what it is,
I
and if it's
appreciate it.
ridiculous,
Oh,
you
thank
know,
you. I wasn't aware
outsider
of that.
fees, but you understand why, because there would be no annexation down there because of the buffer zone. Sewers can be spread, talks about treating, but,
I didn't know anything about it. I love it. Thanks.
okay, all right.
Thank you, commissioners, for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you.
While we're waiting for Gretchen, I had talked to Peter over the weekend. Peter, was there some thought of amending this, or is that off the table now?
You'd have to come to a podium. Peter, you have to come to a podium. Sorry. We
Come on,
have
get
to
your
make sure
10,000
everybody's
steps,
mic'd.
Peter.
Right. It's in the agreement with your agent. You have to be on camera, so.
Buzzsaw, Peter, buzzsaw.
The county engineer's letter dated yesterday reports that the legal description is accurate, which is the main obligation. What we have is a recommendation from the county engineer's office that affects not only this annexation before you, but really all the annexations. What we would like that they be done in a certain way, I'll call it the right way for any petition, in that this petition, like some of them, proposes to annex to the right-of-way line or the sideline of Island Road, which causes problems later on. And last year we had to correct these problems up on Chestnut Ridge Road, and the way to correct them is to annex to the center line instead. The deed runs to the center line, and that's a natural. And then also to enter into an agreement for the maintenance of the road with the village. And that would be an easy thing to do. It's not complicated maintenance, but the main reason for that road maintenance agreement would be to fairly distribute the responsibility for normal maintenance, and especially for future capital improvements. For instance, I'll give you a simple example. If the village were to establish an industrial park, for instance, they would need access for construction vehicles down Island Road. The entity that occupies that land might generate industrial truck traffic. All these tend to denigrate or diminish or prematurely age or damage the road pavement. And it should not be the county's responsibility to fund 100% of the road that's benefiting the adjacent development. And there are some other technical things. For instance, if you only annex to the right-of-way line or the sideline of the road, technically the village could not even control curb cuts or designate road signage or widening of the pavement or future turn lane if that were necessary. And the village would literally be at the mercy of the county, and the county would say, hey, we might not want to cooperate because we don't want to fund this. We don't have the funds. For instance, the county engineer does not have the funds to widen the road or create a turn lane at this time. Those are the reasons why we would recommend it for this case and for future cases. And that's a completely separate comment or recommendation. Doesn't have anything to do with the issue, the main issue that's before you today. Did I answer your question, Jared?
Yes, and Gretchen, the reason I wanted him up first was I don't know whether how the village feels about that. So would we?
Actually, I know how.
Would you be asking them to make a subsequent annexation, or would we be, because I really don't think we can amend this. I think we would have to start over and include that. So I wanted you to hear that before you got going, okay?
No, I thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
If you could state your full name, please.
Yes. Yeah, just one second. Gretchen Holderman and Joe Price on behalf of the Village of Grafton. And I think Joe wants to address that comment by the engineer up first.
Okay. Mr. Zwick started to say that he knew what the village's intentions were. He and engineer Kleberg visited my office on Friday. He expressed all these concerns, and I'm sure he'll agree that the Village of Grafton would have no objection.
And if it may please the board, I would like to make some comments relative to this petition for annexation. First, I would mention that, you know, the annexation back in 1988, there was an injunctive case, and the consent decree is how that case was resolved. I would submit that that annexation was reduced by the 100-foot perimeter as this being discussed, and it's a different annexation than we're here for today. I would mention that in the consent decree that you all have before you under section 4E, I would note that there's no language of perpetuity, and there's no mention in that section that this reduction of the annexation back then would be binding upon any successors in interest or future owners of the property. Contrary to some of the other provisions, such as, I believe, 4C and 4D, where there's language that specifically says that these agreements will be binding upon all parties and their successors. So there's quite a distinction there. I would also submit that it was this board that determined that the annexation back then as proposed was lawful, that it was by agreement of the parties that it was reduced, and that the consent decree dealt with that annexation. I'm sure that circumstances are very different today in that now Grafton owns the land. And the law has also changed, as the board knows, relative to Revised Code 709-16, which enables the Board of Commissioners to grant petitions such as ours right now for this perimeter property because the village actually owns the property. I'm sure the village didn't envision back in 1988 that it would ever buy this property from the prison, or the state of Ohio, but it has. I think that the fact that the parties contemplated perpetuity language for other provisions and that those provisions be binding upon the townships is significant, because if the parties wanted to agree that nobody could ever annex this property again, they would have said so. And furthermore, I would note that the Village of Grafton wasn't the owner of the property at that time. So the Village of Grafton couldn't have agreed not to try to annex property, as an owner, as it's trying to do today because it owns that land. So I would request, and we are in agreement that the engineer's suggestion sounds fine. We want to comply with that. And if we would have to, therefore, request again anew the petition for annexation, we're happy to do that. I originally thought that maybe the board could accept and grant the annexation subject to us changing the map, but I believe Mr. Innes thinks that's not the case.
We can't do that.
Right, and respectfully, I respect his position on that, so we're willing to do that, but I would ask the board to consider the matter and grant the request for annexation, noting the full integrity of the consent decree, the fact that the 100-foot perimeter was agreed to be agreed by all parties to be dropped off the original annexation. Note that the circumstances are different today, certainly because we're the owners of the property, and that I believe that we are lawfully requesting this board to grant our request for annexation. But I can answer any questions.
Jerry, any other comments?
I'll rescind my second if you want to rescind your motion, and we can
You're gonna
then move to
table in
table it
accordance
for a
with-
week.
Yeah, and I'll withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to table.
We do, just so you know, we do have a deadline, so next week is our deadline on deciding something here, so.
If I may, the only thing I would say, Peter, of course, there's certain, I understand the budget at the county at times, the engineer's office, but there's different examples throughout the county, and I understand why you're saying it, I do. But Chestnut Ridge, where we then incorporated that now to the city of Elyria. County sides, relative, you guys went out, fixed potholes, Elyria side that now have been given, which I understand why you want to give it away. It just goes all the heck. And on Island Road, we have people in the 1400 block that they're trying to, and that's one part of the buffer zone they left off. But all of a sudden now you come over the tracks and you're going to be in a 35-mile-per-hour speed trap because the village now owns the roadway of a former county road, where I would just put up no truck signs and they can keep their construction traffic off of Island Road, and they can get an access drive in elsewhere off State Route 83. And again, the only other reason for the buffer zone is there's a rural water tower there in front of the prisons. Nothing's changed besides the ownership of the property. There's still no different intentions. There's a reason why they agreed to block them in with that buffer zone. Again, we're talking 100 foot of land, or 100 foot wide of land and 46 acres of property. We're just annexed in strips, much like last time, which I already gave a phrase for that last time. It was a scam. I believe they're taking advantage of a code that was set down in the state of Ohio, and this is the second annexation for strips of land. And that was only to go north to Midview. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just comment briefly, I would just mention the fact that Grafton didn't agree to not annex that property back
If
then.
you'll direct your comments through the chair, please. We're not going to have a
You're not allowed to
cross
debate back and
debate here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Well, I
not going to
just-
be permitted as long as I'm chairing a meeting.
No,
So it'll
I'm
come through
sorry, I
me.
apologize. I just wanted to mention the fact that Grafton was not the owner at the time and didn't make such an agreement.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
Tom Smith, the attorney, and Tom Smith, the mayor of Grafton, did sign that, agreeing that it would not be annexed, so that they could get the income tax out the prisons, which I get.
The two Tom Smiths.
Two Tom
Right.
Smiths,
There
right?
it is, right. Tom
Should have used the middle initial.
Tom Smith squared.
Right. Okay.
Just so our people don't know, there was two Tom Smiths
Right,
down there. One was the law
exactly.
director and one was the mayor.
Okay. Any final words,
Oh,
Counselor?
no. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion at this time that we table this matter until our next board meeting. That'll give council ample time to
I'll
figure out
second.
where we go.
Any further discussion? Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thanking the Governor and the Ohio House of Representatives for their support of state indigent defense reimbursement and calling on the Ohio Senate to continue support in the budget bill.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
It's been a long time coming. Commissioner Kalo, when he was commissioner, worked on this very hard, and hopefully we're gonna get 100% reimbursement for our indigent defense costs for the county, so. 100%. Go for 100%.
No.
It's still in the current budget bill.
Yeah.
So the House passed it, so we gotta wait and see what the Senate does. The Senate's been known
Just
to
wait.
So what's the deal?
mix up the
What's
mix.
the deal?
Yeah,
We're going for 100% reimbursement.
I heard that.
Okay.
What's our deal?
Pardon me?
What's our deal?
What's our deal?
Yeah, that it's not gonna happen.
Oh, well, let's hope it does happen.
Well, I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic, so I'm betting 54%.
Oh, man, Tim.
Ah,
Lunch?
You're
Lunch?
killing me. Okay, lunch.
Lunch.
Okay.
I thought I heard him
That
floating
is on the
80.
record now, you know.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to place bets?
Wager.
I don't
about all
know.
that.
Sports betting's allowed, so I don't know if betting on bills is allowed, so.
Commissioner,
And this
it's
is something
20
that-
years, and the best we've ever done is
I
52%,
know.
so.
This is something that actually should be a state responsibility.
It should
to
be.
be-
Absolutely.
It's been as low as 42%
Right,
before.
42%.
So if, we got as high as 54 to 60, it
Right.
would be a happy day, but you're right, it's a 100% obligation.
Absolutely.
It's handed down by the Supreme Court, mandated into the defense to the states. The states thereafter remanded it down to the counties and said, we'll give you 50%, figure it out for yourself. And then they lowered it as low as 42% at one time.
Right.
But it's never gotten higher than 52%, so.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, we're thanking him for 100.
Okay. And we're calling on the Senate to do the same, right? To keep
Yes.
it- Keep it in place.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
okay.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Advertise notice of bids for Lorain County parking garage repairs. Notice in the Chronicle on June 3rd and 10th. Mandatory pre-bid June 13th at 9:30 and open at 2 p.m. on June 25th.
So move.
Second,
Discussion.
Want to have any conversation on this?
if you like.
Well,
Long
might as have a
overdue.
little lead-in conversation. Clearly, we've had conversation out here before over the last year and a half, 2 years, with respect to the condition of the parking deck, which is further deteriorated. No, you will not get one of those stones, but you may get a piece of spalling concrete. The decision was made due to the extreme cost of replacing the garage to at least attempt to get a few more years. I met with the engineers a couple weeks ago, actually about a week ago, 10 days ago, to talk about an accelerated schedule. So I have a few things on tap that I wish to discuss with the board as these bids are already set to go out. First off, we're talking a couple $1 million to make the repairs again. I'm hopeful that we can get anywhere from 6 to 8 years extended life from the garage. Not promising you that, I'm hopeful. I'm more hopeful of that than I am of 100% from the state on the engine defense fees. That said, we still have a lot of planning to do for the future of looking to replace that garage. I don't have the total cost, but it's going to exceed $2 million for the repairs. And we have that in our capital plans going forward. It's been in our capital plans going forward for a while. We've bid it 2 ways. We bid it with an accelerated schedule to have the work completed by November. That presents me with a couple issues, significant issues. That means I have to move about another 340 vehicles out of the garage and park them somewhere. I've already closed the top deck, as you know, before the winter, and now I would have to move everybody else out. Last time we did this with scaffolding, we tried to work around vehicles parking in there. That kept the work moving slow, it delayed it. It made it very, very difficult, and it made it more costly to get the work done. I don't know if this was the best decision, but I made a decision that that's not going to work this time. The work is even more significant this time. I need the whole parking deck, and I need it free of pedestrians, I need it free of vehicles in order to accomplish this work and accomplish it quickly and more effectively than I think it was done the last time. I did not like the way the construction repairs went the last time. And I think part of part of the problem with the repairs was trying to work around everybody, and I don't think the repairs was done as proficiently as they should have been.
It seemed like most of the work was done on the 5th floor, the top floor.
And the top 2 floors are the ones that deteriorate the most due to water seeping
elements
coming
Salt.
through. But it's still, most of the salt, though, is actually deposited on the lower 2 floors from the drainage dripping off the cars. The salt coming off the vehicles is the #1 corrosive material that's entering the garage. And the garage is an older structure, so it doesn't have a sprinkling system or dewatering system that on the nicer days can flush a lot of that out of the garage. And because the only time the garage is not really full of vehicles is in the evening. By that time, even if we have a mild day, the temperatures are below freezing on mild days in the colder months. We can't flush the garage. So by the end of July, hopefully with an accelerated bid process and an award process, we're going to need to empty that garage and try to get the work done by the end of October, beginning of November. A couple things that are influencing that are cold weather, moving in, concrete, steel rebar, laying down a membrane again on the top deck to try to water tighten the garage. I'm not sure what the bids are going to look like, so we've done it 2 ways. We've done it, can we get it done this year by the beginning of November? Or what's the pricing if we begin next year towards the end of March and go through this chaotic process next spring? Also, we're going to have a piece in there that indicates to take a look at the shoring up the back end of the upper deck. I'm most concerned with the transition area under the top deck, where you drive under in the back on the 3rd level there. We have plates over the back on the top, but the structural transfer of weight back there bothers me because there's a continued degradation back there. So I want to get some scaffolding rigged back there. I have the engineers looking at that right now. So we have to go to the spring. I'm going to do some additional shoring back there to put some mind at ease that we won't have any problems going through the winter. So all of those things are underway right now. We'll know better when the bids come back in. Also, if we can get some guarantees from the engineers, we may get better pricing to do the work next spring than to accelerate it this season. So we're going to look at those options. But either way, the parking deck's going to need to be emptied so we can do this right. Not that we did it wrong the last time we did work. It was, Teresa, what was it, about 12 years ago now?
A little more, I think.
A little more. But it was just terrible with scaffolding and curtaining and moving around, and the work was significantly delayed, and it just was haphazard. And so I need to figure out a scheme of where to put another 350 vehicles and how to move things around, and hence, we're running those loop buses downtown. If we do the work this year, that's going to be integral to my plan. People are not going to be happy, but I'm going to come up with a plan for that too. You can expect major unhappiness, but the work's got to be done. And I'll give you more when I get the bids back and see what we're facing. But the problem is not going to go away.
No, it's just getting worse.
And as we've talked about before, building a new garage is what, 22,000 per?
About
per site?
25,000 a space.
25,000.
And I wouldn't build the garage the size it is today, so you can add another 100 plus, maybe. If I was building the garage and you could find the resources, that's the problem, I'd probably add 200 spaces, so the garage was, and I would build the garage for a 40-year service life at a minimum, so you're looking at probably 700 spaces at 25,000 a space. I'm no mathematician, somebody else do the math. That's what you need. Plus you have to demo the garage you've got, It's integral to the back of the building. The building was built to have the garage, so the back of the building's subterranean. The whole atrium in the back is built that way with the service elevators and the stairs. So if you didn't put it back behind the building, you also have a massive amount of work to do to the back of this building to resculpture the back of the building. So there's significant changes there. Also, let me say that when I talk about 350, 325 cars out of the deck, I'm almost certain I have to add another 100 off the back alley, because I believe the work has to be staged off the back alley. So I'm probably talking in excess of 400 to 425 that I have to park. And that's, hopefully, we're not going to have any problem with our neighbors, with their parking, with issues with the construction. So there's going to be probably more problems that I have to deal with that on the relocation. There's not as many people parking back there. A lot of that is our service vehicles and all of our work vehicles, but that still puts a lot of delays and issues there that have to be worked out.
We try to keep county
Also,
vehicles.
one of the commissioners that park back there. But you and Peter can do the 10,000 steps together. There's some things that need to be worked out.
Well, it helps with keeping the county vehicles under, roof, and we have the children's services and the numerous government vehicles. Those are
things
some.
that have to work out.
But when it comes, when it comes to employees, there aren't many forms of government where government employees get to park in a garage in the first place, and so in most cases, I remember leaving Elyria City Hall, or if you leave City Hall in Lorain, you're wiping the snow off your car, you're walking to the building. Those things are just the reality.
I'll give you a case in point. Children's Services brings, their caseworkers bring the children in, they bring them right up by the back door here.
Right.
So I can tell you right now, people think it's just going to be the employees that are affected. No, it's not going to be, because I'm going to have to put those people in the parking lot across the street. That's the closest resource I have while the garage is under construction, so it's going to affect the parking spots across the street with the public. There is going to be a lot of inconvenience to everybody. So might as well get it out there right now, have those conversations right now, because I cannot have those caseworkers getting on the bus with those children. The guardians ad litem have some parking spots on the lower level here. When they're working with the courts, I have to deal with those problems right there. We also have, some issues with mobility people and things like that. There's going to be
inconvenience.
There's going to be things that I need to deal with, and I will deal with them, but it's going to affect everybody along the way. So it's going to touch all people that utilize services here in this building, the Justice Center, et cetera, because a lot of folks that even work and visit the Justice Center still use this garage and use this corner parking lot. So it's going to be a complicated plan. It's not beyond it. It's just going to be a lot of unhappy people.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting on this cost to come back. This is something we have to look at. We have an estimate, but I can't promise you that estimate is accurate, because they're going to come out and they're going to look at the structure and the integrity of that garage, and they're going to come back with that. So more to come, but we'll have these conversations as we go along. And
Big change?
Are you okay?
Good.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Approve a change order number 1 to Warwick Broadview Heights in the amount of $29,657.13 for the countywide phone system for cable and streamline for the sheriff.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
yeah, I want to talk about this 30 seconds.
Okay.
As we enter into this phone system upgrade, as we learn at Job and Family Services, we're starting over at the Sheriff's Department, this is going to be ugly. I don't want to hear about it from everybody. So when you get calls, yeah, it's going to stink. Stuff's going to work, stuff's not going to work, the transition is going to be hard. We're going to have stuff that we think should work, and it's not going to integrate correctly. This is technology. We went through this with all the stuff at 911. We went through the Job and Family Services. We're going to have some service outages thing. If people don't have patience through this and they start ringing my phone off the hook, I'm going to get aggravated, because it's not going to be as easy as flipping a light switch and the light comes on. It never works that way. It's never perfect.
Right.
And the outside resources that are doing this are never easy to work with. Just call your cable company when your cable ain't working. That's about the response we get here. So I don't have a magic button in my office that I push. They go, County Administrator Jim Cortez called and said something broken. They go, stop the presses. Wait, let's run down there and fix it for them. It don't work that way. I wish it did. I really do, but it doesn't. So we're getting ready. This is a multi-million-dollar phone upgrade that's going to sweep across the county piece by piece. And this, too, is going to be aggravating. It's going to be aggravating at the Sheriff's Department, the courthouse, the Justice Center, and then finally here. And I would like to live through it with the white hair I have, that I lost the color last time we did something like this, and I like it to stay on my head. So when you get these calls, please understand, there's little I can do to convince these outside vendors that we deserve better treatment than everybody else. You've been down that road.
Phone systems, how old, Jim? How old's the phone system?
We replaced this Mitel system began in 1998 and was completed in late 99.
And on the upside, boy, once they're done, I think we'll all appreciate the technology, and the new phones are they're just better resources and better tools to work with.
Anything else?
Nope.
So here comes the aggravation.
I would mean aye.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Job and Family, authorized purchase service agreement with the Office on Aging for Title 20 Social Service Block Grant Funded Services for fiscal year 19, effective June 1st through September 30th, 2019, to provide homemaker services to eligible residents not to exceed $40,458.73, and authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' purpose.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Children and Family Council for Title 20 Social Service Block Grant Funded Services for fiscal year 19, effective retroactive June 1st through September 30th, 2019, to provide case management and mentoring services to eligible residents not to exceed $95,889.49, and authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board. Prosecutors' approval is to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorized purchase service agreement with El Central, Lorain for summer camp for low-income children using TANF effective from June 10th through August 9, 2019, not to exceed $66,805, and authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval is to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Common Ground, the Cindy Nord Center for renewal, Overland for summer camp for low-income children using, effective June 24th through August 2nd, 2019, not to exceed $40,500. Authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval is to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorized purchase service agreement with Horizon Educational Centers, North Olmsted, for summer camp for low-income children using TANF, effective June 10th through August 23rd, 2019, not to exceed $90,000. Authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval is to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Please hold.
Okay.
I have to
tape
change
change.
batteries.
Tape.
Oh, batteries.
Yeah,
Wow.
Oh, boy.
I know.
That doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. I even got glasses and I can't see.
All right.
It's red.
Okay.
Okay. Authorized purchase service agreement with Boys and Girls Club of Lorain County, Lorain, for summer camp for low-income Lorain County children using TANF funds, effective June 3rd through August 16, 2019, not to exceed $512,505. Authorized director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval is to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Authorize agreement with Speedway Prepaid Card LLC of Eaton, Ohio, for purchase of prepaid fuel cards using TANF funds not to exceed $200,000, and authorize director to execute on behalf of the Board of Prosecutors' approval as to form.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Cortez.
Yeah, I want to talk on that, and then, of course, for the summer camp program. You know, a lot of times we breeze through these things, but, you know, being able to provide the summer camps, a lot of people forget that the Job and Family Services is a division under the commissioners, and Bob Tamas and her staff over there do an amazing job. You know, we had the opportunity to meet with her and have lunch last week, spend some time together. You know, they bring forward these initiatives, and There's a lot of things that can be funded under TANF, and it takes the staff over there and the employees over there looking at the needs in the community and you know, advising what should happen in the community, and working with the nonprofits and figuring some things out, like, and hopefully at the end of the summer this year we'll look for another clothing program like we did last year. And these programs are essential to diversion, having some place for these kids to go. All one has to do is visit places like the Boys and Girls Clubs, and their contract is so much bigger because they have multiple locations that they do, and or going out to Common Ground and seeing what they do there. But it's on your agenda because you're the last one that needs to say yes, so these monies can be spent in this community, and people don't give you credit for that about this programming out there. But there's certainly a lot of children are given opportunities that they may not ordinarily have unless this board sees fit to allow those resources to be spent in this community. And I think it's a shame that you don't get credit for all that,
Yeah, a lot
that
of these
work
kids
that's done.
are getting fed at these camps, and maybe if they were at home, they wouldn't have the meals that they're getting.
Quite frankly, that's a great comment, Commissioner, because they leave school, most of them are being fed at school.
Correct.
And when school ends, they don't have access to a consistent meal. Hunger in this community is a significant problem. We've talked about that, not really enough because we've been overrun with the opioid problem and the things that, you know, that have gotten more attention, but the hunger issue has been plaguing our community significantly, and as school has been ending, these especially the youth have been faced with the prospect of not getting consistent meals, and where they're going to be consistently fed, and they're turning more and more to these type of organizations. So this replaces those meals they were receiving at the schools and so forth. So these programs are vital, and few people understand that you play a role with the Job and Family Services. But I can't say enough how good it is to have those employees over there. They don't get enough credit over at Job and Family Services for what they do. All people remember is that occasionally we have some disputes with the Job and Family Service. They forget all the great work that comes out of there. So I just wanted to mention that. And secondly, with this program with the gas cards, because it's a significant amount of money, I think that Jeff King and his folks have done a great job with this. This vendor is the only one that can actually take cards that are given out that may not utilize all the balance on a card, or a card gets lost. What they do, and Jeff explained this, and I really think it's so unique. They can reconcile these cards, and if there's any remaining balances on them that is not exhausted within 30 days, they can return it back to the funds so it can be reused again. Usually these cards go out, and if there's anything linger on them, it's lost, it's gone. So it's really kind of, I didn't quite get it when I had this sitting for a while, and I'm thinking, well, it's only one vendor, and why, it's a lot of money. And so when I had the conversation and it was all explained to me, I was like, wow, this is a great job, a lot of effort by the people over there, so that we can make sure that we strip this resource completely and get this out back into the community, instead of $1 wasted here, $3,
couple bucks,
couple
lingering.
bucks, because those couple bucks add up to a lot of bucks.
They do.
And apparently, there's nobody out there right now that has improved their technology so that they're capable of doing something that's similar out there. So
is there a cost for them to administer that plan?
it's all rolled in. I couldn't really tell you. I was just excited about the fact that how many people got a gift card laying around with 75 cents on it, or whatever. That can all be returned back. So I was pretty excited to hear that, so that 100 cards with 75 cents makes a lot of difference, and it goes back out to somebody else that needs gas to get the work that was being issued a card to. So I want to send out a lot of credit for the thinking to those folks out there for what they're doing.
Excellent.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sweden.
Aye.
Workforce, approve and renew an MOU with Lorain County Community College Aspire program to assist in providing academic skill supplement for employment and training services to participants deemed in need by staff of Ohio Means Jobs effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, not to exceed $24,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Extend and amend interagency agreement with Lorain County Port Authority for the comprehensive case management and employment program work experience amount not to exceed $626,583.60 effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Is that for the DIY building? or
Yeah,
the
no,
collection center
let me put it this way. The Port Authority is not making $626,583. That's the way it has to be written. We're providing payroll services. So
Money in, money out?
money in, money out. You know, it's a flush. It's, you know, they need to get these work experience people paid, and it's not the program over at the
Collection
center.
center?
What is that, Windfall or something like that?
Yeah,
Wingate. That's something different. But when we put these people in work experience and we pay out of youth dollars, we need payroll services. So we run it through the port, and they provide all the payroll services because we have outside accounting, and they do all the payroll service, and we get the payroll checks out at a pretty rapid pace. Rather than, we used to try to run it through the county, and it became very convoluted and challenging. So last 3 years, we've been running it through the Port Authority and the accountants there, and it's been really seamless and worked out very, very well. So the port's not getting $600,000.
All right.
It's just
Darn
money
it.
in, money out.
Okay. Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Establishing local governance agreement between the Commissioners, Workforce Development Board, Workforce Development Agency, Workforce Institute as required under WIA, expiring June 30, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Approve and enter an LDJFS WIA sub-grant agreement for state fiscal year 19 and 20, effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Children's Services authorize various personnel to utilize the agency's MasterCard for the 2019 not to exceed $2,500 for permissible expenses in accordance with the policy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Engineer, receive and journalize annual report on the condition of ditches under County Maintenance Fund for the year 2019. Authorize Lorain County Auditor to assess for maintenance as recommended for the year 2020 tax lien 2019.
And so move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Health District, approve change order number 1 in amount not to exceed $3,688 to Electrical Corporation America for required changes to the area of rescue assistance system from a locally monitored system as specified to a system that can be remotely monitored. That's a lot.
That's a mouthful, right?
It was.
I'll explain after they make a motion.
This change is required by Larry Fire Department authority having the jurisdiction.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
This'll do away with the monthly monitoring services, and we'll be monitoring the panic system at 911 for our folks. Similar to what I went out and met with the Veterans Commission to do from the Veterans Building. So this will enunciate over at our center so we can dispatch our own resource to the health department. And that'll take some of the craziness out of what's going on. So that's why this change was necessary. Overall, this will reduce some of the confusion and also over time reduce the cost. And we can manage our own panic system like we do at the Justice Center.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Public comment.
Public comment, anyone wishing to address the board this morning? I was hoping Carl had something to say. Nothing to say, Carl? Jeez, I've never seen you quiet.
We skipped over.
Oh, okay.
Wait for you, Teresa.
He's
You
eagerly
picked a short
waiting.
meeting.
Okay. Okay, seeing no public comment.
Mr. Cortez.
We've been pretty long this morning, so I will yield to council. Thank you.
Hold on a second, Jerry. Got to change the tape now.
Again?
My goodness.
No, change the tape. I had 2 batteries last time.
Cassette tape. Latest
High-tech
technology.
cassette.
Hey now,
It works, right?
you get your stuff. on me
That's
then,
right, we do, we do. Hey, it's not an 8-track.
Well, now, I'm not gonna go there. Mr. Innes.
I would like to have an executive session to discuss pending legal action.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioners report.
Okay, well, Commissioner Sweet and I attended the community health assessment at Lorain County Community College this past Thursday. The area hospitals gave presentations along with the county's health department. Lorain County is doing the best in the state when it comes to infant mortality. There are a high number of African-American babies who don't make it to the age of 1, and the good news is that it has been reduced from 21.7 down to 8.6. So it's a number that needs to continue to decrease as they drill down on what has been done to help the children thrive. So great presentation. King of Wings is still going on, so go to visit Lorain County, to their Facebook page to find out what restaurants are participating.
Warning.
Yeah, warning. Commissioner Sweet and I went to the Foundry yesterday afternoon for lunch, and the server actually warned us that the wings were hot, and boy, she was not kidding. They were like eating fire, but they were very tasty, but they were very hot. So your nose was running, and I got instantly I got the hiccups.
She got hiccups.
I heard the same
I was
thing, that the
drinking
Foundry
water.
wings were really hot.
They were super hot. Super hot.
Like too hot.
Yeah, so, and also the scoop here's the scoop is going on, so go to your ice cream, get your ice cream all around Lorain County and support local businesses. That's what that's all about, so. End of my report.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief this morning. Had the opportunity to attend the Lorain Historical Society dinner on Thursday. They just do an amazing job preserving the history of our largest community in the county. Radhika also spoke there at the event and giving them some thoughts on her new business downtown and some tips on how to go about with historic tax credits and all those things to make these old buildings and projects work. What a delightful lady. What a delightful lady. But a very great evening there. Wasn't able to attend the health assessment meeting, but I just have to tell you, and I say it over and over again, you're in good hands with the county health department. Dave Koval and his whole staff. Just first class, first rate. Anytime I call Dave and looking for feedback on anything, he responds quickly, and everybody's professional and thorough, and so you're in good hands with the county health department. While you were in the parade there in Elyria, right, the other day, I had the opportunity to attend the parade in my hometown, Avon Lake. I try to get over there every once in a while for the Memorial Day parade. Very nice service at the end of the parade. They gave me the opportunity to speak, and I was trying to stress to people about the importance of how do we go about honoring the sacrifice that has been made, and I think one of the best things we can do is be civil with each other, even when we strongly disagree, and wake each day to show our neighbors dignity and respect. And just quickly, I'll just make a quick comment, and I'll elaborate much later, but I just want to assure the community that this board is taking the search for a new board very seriously. Very disappointed to see comments made by one of the outgoing directors that the appointments are political in nature. So with that said, let me just say that among some of the folks that we're considering and looking at, a mother whose child battles mental health issues and also lost a brother who overdosed and died, that person's not political. A person in 35 years of recovery, that person's not political. A veteran who's been in trouble with the law, turning around his life, getting back on track in recovery, that person's not political. That's just a few of the people that we've been interviewing. So I think it's shameful to make such disparaging comments about people in the community who are passionate about helping people on the road to recovery, and I'm very disappointed in the director's comments. And when we do make these appointments, I think the community will realize that the individuals very well represent the diversity and the challenges facing our community. That completes my report.
Well, thank you, Matt, and I have to echo your sentiments on that because I know that since the very beginning of that recommendation process, we've interviewed all of the candidates, and I think that everybody's there for all the right reasons, and as a group, we've really stayed in our lane on that. We're just basically going through the process of trying to come up with the absolute best board that we can recommend moving forward. So I agree with you on that. Friday, I had the opportunity of visiting with Dr. Amber Fisher and her team over at MRDD for a tour, and it was great to go over there to see. It's such a happy place. If you haven't been there, just a great place for the children. The work program there is incredible, and the pride of being sufficient and being able to produce good work is just very heartwarming. For me, it was a great start for a great weekend. Saturday, I want to give a shout out to Rosa and Joe G. They organized a huge group of volunteers over at Rest Haven to plant flags, and I'll talk a little more about another effort I saw, but it was great. Within an hour, flags were everywhere, and it was a sunny day. It was a lot of fun. After that, I had the opportunity to go to the Elyria Arts Council, and I picnic, and I bought my brick. And I got one that says county, and it has a little bit of soil on it, so I'm going to put that in my office. I think that's kind of a great piece of memorabilia. I think they have bricks left for those of you who need a brick. And then Saturday evening, the Vietnam Memorial in Amherst had their Remembering the 98 again, and that's always a really sobering but touching service. Sunday, the 73rd annual Post-222 Memorial Day service was held at Lorain High. Probably a little softer attendance that I would have liked to seen. The Lorain High had their band there, and the music was incredible. They did an outstanding job. Their director does a very nice job, and they had baskets presented by all of the joint agencies, and a very, again, sombering roll call when they do the absent for the veterans we've lost through the year. Monday, yep, there were a couple parades. I want to thank my team, Tony Shanahan, Corey Schauber, Jackie Lewicki, Mark Nisley. They traveled both parades with me. We did Elyria and then Lorain, except I told Commissioner Lundy that all the way through Elyria, everybody kept saying, "Where's Matt Lundy? Where's Matt Lundy?" And so they had to take me instead. But
I'll have a cardboard cutout for you.
yeah, we're going to get a bobblehead or something I can wave. He's with me. And we started that morning with pancakes over at St. Andrews, so it was a great day. That evening, AMVETS Post 47 had their annual memorial service, and that was very well attended. Mayor Chase Ritnar was making a little bit of a farewell tour this weekend, and had some very nice comments about the hope and anticipation he has for Lorain moving forward, and how he's thanked the community for giving him such a good tenure. And Tuesday morning, I went by Ridgeview Cemetery, because I knew they needed help pulling flags. And what I found out, there are over 5,000 veterans there. It takes them 3 days to put all their flags up. So anybody who has time next year, I'm thinking that would be where they really need some help. And I just want to thank all the volunteers who made this such a beautiful weekend. A lot of hard work, a lot of effort goes into each of those memorials, planting all the flags, organizing the activities, and was quite a memorable weekend of remembrance. Thank you.
Clerk's report.
Board correspondence.
Board correspondence.
Been a long meeting.
Yeah. I think today I'll waive that the
Sure
reading.
You don't want her to read it?
No, we'll give her a break today.
Yeah, because it's short.
Sure. Today'd be a good day to do it, though. But we won't. I'll waive the
We got the
reading.
clock ticking over there. motion?
Yes,
You
I have.
did.
Oh, second.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Okay, see no other business at this time. I would move that we go into executive session for the reasons stated by the county administrator and the assistant county prosecutor.
I'll second.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.